Good morning and welcome to Fish Hawk Live. We're joined by Trevor Sumption from Fish Hawk. Trevor, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man.
You got some snow on the ground up there in Brainerd?
We got a little bit of snow finally. I'd say we got maybe 2 inches last night, which is 2 inches more than we've had like all month. So that's a good thing for people that like snow like myself. So
Got a little white on the ground.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the lakes up there right now. What's happening on the lakes? Are we getting big fish houses and those kind of things out on the lakes?
Yep, fish houses are going out in big numbers, which is great. Some people may know that our other kind of sister company is all ice fishing related. So that's an important part of our overall business. So yeah, we've been making ice good here the last couple 3 weeks, really since Christmas. So lots of kind of what I would call typical weather for us, the below zero stuff. So we're making 2, 3, 4 inches of ice, a day, which is great when it's below zero. And then we had a customer stop in yesterday. He was pulling his 30 footer on the ice for the first time in 2 years. So when they're pulling the 30 footers out, that means that means we're getting pretty good ice. So.
Yeah, that's a big trailer. That's a big rig. We're probably talking 12, 13, 14,000 pounds going on in the
Yeah,
lakes there.
I was trying to figure that out yesterday, like what that actually would weigh. But you figure, 3/4 1 ton truck, 30 footer. Yeah, I mean there's some pretty substantial weight there. So
He's got to be pushing 15,000, I would think, actually.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a load. So,
Well, I don't think anyone's here to listen to us talk about ice fishing. We're going to talk a little bit about trolling today. We're going to talk fish hawk. It's 2025, and first time we've had you on the show, obviously, this year. What's going on at Fish Hawk? Give us a little overview of kind of what people can expect 2025 Fish Hawk.
yeah, I mean, this is the time of year when everything starts as far as our build. I shouldn't say starts, but we really start ramping up now as far as actual production. Building products and the actual manufacturing, packaging, all that kind of stuff. So it's early January, and that'll just continue to ramp up here now for the next 60 days or so. And as we're always up to something, doing something new, kind of taking the feedback that we got, that we continually get, and trying to turn that into something. Maybe obviously we introduced the Lithium series last year, and that introduction went very well. Product performed very well, so that we're always, that's something that we obviously are happy about. But we always learn something in that process. One of the things we learned is the actual charging pad itself. We didn't actually didn't anticipate as many people wanting to charge the probe on the boat as what we saw. So some of the feedback we got is because we extend the temperature sensors out of the back of the probe a little bit, and we just do that because it makes them more responsive. But because we do that, it doesn't allow it didn't allow the probe to sit on the charger. Oops, nice and flow. There's wire right there. So it didn't allow the probe to sit on the charger nice and flush. It would still charge, but it was kind of balanced there. So a lot of the feedback we got was how can we make that better? So we kind of took that to heart, and we don't have a good name for it yet. Maybe you can help us with this, but we came up with a hat, or we call it a hat, but we came up with a molded piece that snaps over the charging pad that everybody has, or the people that bought the lithium probes have. So this pad, or that hat, simply snaps over the charging pad itself, and it creates a nest for the probe. So it stands that up nice and vertical, and provides good stability there. So for somebody that is charging this on the go, whether it's on the boat or in a vehicle or something like this, now they're not fighting with their probe getting it to stay on the pad. So that's just an example of things that we do based on feedback that we get. And again, I honestly didn't think, because the battery life in these is so long, I didn't think that we'd have as many people wanting to charge on the boat as what there are. But I guess it also does kind of make sense too. I mean, you charge your phone every day, so I think that's kind of like a habit maybe that we just bring to it. not knowing any different. So
Yeah, in testing, we've been getting, 50, we promised 50 hours, but we've been getting way over that, 60, 70. A lot of
yeah.
times in the tests have been well over 100 hours. So I think we kind of thought, hey, somebody's going to charge us up Thursday night before they go fishing. They can fish all weekend on it and then go ahead and charge it up after their weekend of fishing. But
Yeah.
like you say, what we're getting from people is that they want to kind of top it off while they're on the boat.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, right? So it's probably one of those things that there's you're not causing any harm necessarily. So there's really no reason not to do that. So again, it's just sometimes it takes longer than we want to execute a solution, but when we come up with a solution, we want to try to come up with one that we really thought out and actually I mean, it seems like a simple piece, but we actually, we kind of go through it to make sure that we're not, that we're not degrading charging performance or anything like that. So so there is a test process that goes along with, even a simple, piece like this, just to make sure that we're not causing any kind of unintended consequences that would be negative. And that's not the case with these. We vetted this pretty thoroughly, and we're actually, so it's, what is it, January 10th today. So we're actually molding these now. So within a few weeks, we'll have these available. And you and I talked previously that we'll come up with a method of kind of making these available to anybody that purchased a probe previously. We'll come up with a method of getting getting this to them, at no charge. So that's something that we wanted to do just because it just improves the overall experience. The charging experience, the use experience. So it's a pretty inexpensive part overall, good solution. So that's something that we want to make available to anybody that bought a lithium probe last year also. So.
Yeah, you just ruined my surprise. I wanted to say those are
Oh,
available for $79.99, right?
that'd be great, but I don't think that's. I mean, we're not. Yeah, I don't. That's not the world we live in either. So I don't know that. I don't know that would pass the smell test. So.
But I think it's great though that we've come up with saw a potential issue out there, came up with a solution, and providing that solution to our customers at no charge.
It's kind of funny because like I had a customer talking to somebody here. It wasn't even that long ago. I mean, I think it was after season, but his use case was, he had a boat in slip, right? So he docked his boat. He had the boat stayed in the water all season. And so he had his charging pad and was in, had a USB on the dash and everything. So he, hooks it up and so he just wanted to let the probe sit on the charger overnight, which makes perfect sense, right? But just being tied up in the marina, the boat will rock, whether it's windy or boat traffic or whatever. And he'd come in the morning and the probe would fall off the charger. And it's like, yeah, I get that, right? So I mean, it's like, why didn't we think of that in the first place? So
Well, we got it figured out now, and again, if somebody wants one of those, we're gonna have a way for them to go online and be able to get that ordered for them. And I think I'm gonna try to bring a bunch to Niagara if people are gonna be at the Niagara show in February. I will have a box of them there as well for folks to swing
yeah,
by and
that's
pick up.
that's coming. That's actually, I was looking at the calendar yesterday. That's actually coming quick. So
Yeah, it's I don't know, 5 weeks away.
yeah,
So
I mean, it's all of a sudden it seems like the holidays go super slow. Or I mean, everything was kind of compressed this year, but then between people being gone and whatever for the last 2 weeks of the year, everything kind of slows down, and then you turn the calendar, and all of a sudden everything goes into warp speed. So
yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk some fish hawk multi. We've got some questions on that early this year. Some people thinking about going to that system. First of all, just kind of tell the audience what the multi is. How does it work? What is it all about? And how is it different from our other systems?
well, you named it, right? You named it the multi because we really designed it for multi-species boats, and really kind of like the boat that I have now, which is just 18-foot aluminum trailer boat, single console, something that I can fish bass in one day, and if Superior is calm, we can run over and throw downriggers on, and fish. Um, and fish trout and salmon the next day. So obviously there's a lot of people out there with that style of boat, and that's really the we really put more units on that kind of boat now than we do anything else by a long shot. So that's really where we started with the design. Was it's like, okay, well, how do we design something for a boat that you know you're using for trolling one day, but you're pulling the kids on a tube next day, where you're taking everything off the boat, whatever. So obviously, we wanted some kind of a portable system, and we came out with it a few years ago, and I don't know that we've done a super good job of actually. We probably haven't spent as much time on it as we need, as far as promoting it and just explaining to people, what the benefit is in there. But what it really does is it takes the same technology, performance, the same things that we've done, the Fish Hawk has done for 40 years, and it just puts it into a portable package. And the biggest, kind of the biggest hurdle to that was the transducer itself, with a transom mounted transducer. And, not everybody wants to mount a transducer. If you're permanently mounting a transducer, then obviously that's not portable. You're not able to move that from boat to boat. There's just a lot of scenarios there that kind of come into play. So that's when we developed the slip deucer concept. And this actually, and what that does is it actually allows the transducer to ride on either a downrigger cable or a line. Some people do the kind of the short rod setup, you could call it a poor man's downrigger, but a line counter reel with a short chunk of, either butt section of a two-piece rod or a kite rod, or something. You're essentially just making a little mini downrigger with a rod and reel. But anyways, what this allows you to do is it allows you to put that transducer right in line with the probe. So if the probe is attached to the end of that cable, it's directly in line with it. And this, really the beauty of the system is this thing, the transducer itself is always oriented perfectly to the probe, because it's on the same line. So it actually, from a performance perspective, it actually works really, really well, because it takes blowback, it takes all of those things. It eliminates those factors, because they're essentially tied together. So from that perspective, it works really well. I think where it does differ quite a bit from a transom mounted transducer, because this is something, if there's just trade-offs to everything, right? So you get the portability, and you get the perfect reception in there, but there's also a convenience factor that maybe you lose a little bit of. So when you mount a transom mounted transducer, you're mounting it once, and then it's one and done, right? Where this, I'm setting this up every time, and things like that. So there's not one answer. We tried to come up with solutions for a couple different, for different scenarios, kind of different use cases. And that's really kind of where the system starts, is with the transducer itself. And then the second part of that, because the probe is the same, right? So it's the same probe that any of the other systems use, the same lithium probe, or even the X4 probes previously, but the probe is the same. So the other part of the system, wherever I set it here, is the display itself. And unlike the larger displays, this one's AA powered. So it just uses 2 AA batteries in there, and that powers the display. So it means that it doesn't require power being run to the display, which means I can put it anywhere on the boat. A lot of people, probably I'd say the most popular setup for it is using a track adapter for that. So you'll mount the display on the track adapter. And so anybody that has track on the boat, they can just slide that right into the track and really put that display anywhere they want to view it. So Trax Tech makes the adapter for us, but it fits all of the popular track out there, whether that's the Trax Tech track itself, Cisco, Burt's, Canon. It's universal as far as the size goes. And so I would say that most people, if they're running this display, for those customers that are running multi-systems now, a lot of people will opt to get that track adapter to mount the display that way. But again, the beauty of it is that it doesn't require power, so you can put it anywhere. And seeing people, even on big boats, they'll run it. They want to display back on the transom rather than running power back, running more power back there or another transducer. They can actually put this on there and actually have a nice display at the transom. I personally, when you compare, not that it really matters, I guess, what my preference is, from a personal standpoint, but the displays really do the same thing as far as the the information they show. But I actually really like the smaller form factor of this display. So even though I've got I've got transducers mounted on my boat, and I've got all the displays because we're using it to test product all the time. If I'm actually fishing, this is typically the display. This is typically the display I'm reaching for, whether I'm using it with the slip deucer or with the transom mounted transducer, just because I really like the smaller form factor in there. And I think you're going to see more of that in the future, from the standpoint that the dash space on any boat, I mean, even big boats, the dash space is so limited right now that it's really at a premium, where if we can provide the same display or the same information in a smaller package, I think there's a lot of people that are looking for that right now.
Yeah, we called it the multi for it to go on a multi-species boat, but getting back to what you were saying with the slip deucer and with the battery power and the display, it can be used on multiple boats. So maybe you've got a couple different boats. You've got a big boat and you've got a smaller boat. You can move those, or maybe you and your buddy want to go in together to buy one. I will caution everyone, anytime I've ever heard of any piece of equipment breaking, it's always I borrowed it to a buddy. So just remember that if you're going to go with that plan. Everything gets broken by a buddy. It's never been broken by you.
Yeah,
But
I think that applies to tools and everything else too. So,
yeah, exactly.
or you buy it together and you never get it back, type thing. So,
Right. So just cautioning on that. But the nice part of that system is it can be moved anywhere. You don't need a downrigger. If you've got a downrigger, you can use it. But if you want to use that short rod system that we have set up, we've got the short rod there, and drop it down and go right off the side of your boat. And it's one of those things that allows you to use this really literally anywhere.
yeah, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but that's one of the things that I've kind of got. Uh, One of the things I want to do for 25 is just do a better job of showing people how we use it or how they can use it, because I think that's you know it's different because it's a completely different system, and because the traditional fish hawk system, or the those have been around for so long, a lot more people understand them. So that's really one of the things I want to do this year, is just show that and use more, because it is really simple. I mean, there's not a lot to it. And also, like, even the more that we use it, the more we kind of learn about it, and the more that the more that we see, like, what applications it really fits in the best. So
And the other thing that we started doing last year is showing this and making it available with that transom mounted transducer. So we talked about the slip deucer, but if you want to run this with a transom mounted transducer and just save yourself a little bit of money, you can do that as well. If you're running a regular downrigger off the back of your boat and want a
yeah,
more permanent solution, you can get this. We offer with both ways on our website.
yeah, and you can actually we've actually got we actually took the transom mount off of the site here just recently, just because we've got another solution for that coming out a little bit later this spring, that just really even makes it even more simple. So it just kind of streamlines that whole process if somebody did want to put it on the transom. But the mounting transducers, I mean, if you talk to anybody in customer service, like, our number one question by far is where do I mount the transducer? And there's we pretty much know that by every style of boat and every hauler, every setup, as far as what they have for power on the boat, engines, and whether that's outboards, inboards, IOs, whatever. We pretty much know where those go. But there's just, as we continue to add more stuff to the back of the boat, there's just more challenges in mounting transducers, whether that's trim tabs or more transducers, or lighting or whatever it may be now. So there's just more and more challenges to that, and this is a potential solution for for some of those customers. But yeah, it's like I said, we've got some stuff coming here this spring that's going to make that just even that much simpler. So
If people bought an X2, maybe, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago, before we came out with the lithium probes, it's very, very simple to upgrade your system basically from an X2 to a multi. How do people do that?
yeah, just buy a lithium probe. So the probes communicate the same way. There's no pairing. It's literally, it's not even plug and play because you're not plugging anything in. It's just a play. So yeah, it's literally just getting the lithium probe and going fishing. There's really nothing more to it than that. So.
Yeah, it was interesting. I went out with Captain Gerard Urbanozo last summer, and he went from the X4 to the Pro, and he's like, "Yeah, I thought it would take an hour or something to set it up." And he's like, "Literally, all I had to do was change out the change out the display. It took him about 5 minutes to do that." And he's like, "I didn't have, I dropped it in and it worked. I couldn't
Yeah,
believe how fast and easy it was."
I mean, uh, for better or worse, I mean, backwards compatibility is something that we strive for, and that's just a fancy way of saying the new products we make, we want to be compatible with things that people already have on their boat. So if somebody's got a transducer, already mounted, well, they don't need to mount another one. It's not going to be, it's not a different transducer or anything at this point. So we just try to make that as simple as possible. I mean, it does create its own set of, like I say, there's always trade-offs, right? So it does create some other limitations, but I think over time, that's been a very successful strategy for us, and you know customers seem to really appreciate it, and we get a lot of really positive feedback there, because I think everybody's kind of had the experience where you buy a new model and you have to you've got to re-rig everything, or everything changes every 2 years or something like that. So I think a lot of people have had that experience. I certainly have, and yeah, we just try to not do that. I don't know. Maybe that's not the best business strategy. I don't know, but I mean that's kind of the way that I like to do it. Maybe like I said, maybe we shouldn't, but that's the way we have. So
All right, Trevor, anything else about the multi that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you about today?
I don't think so. I will say that like a lot of people will start out with a multi where they like the idea of the short rod setup, and they may set that up and they may use it, and if it kind of ends up being more than they bargained for from a convenience standpoint or an inconvenience, then they'll actually go to a downrigger, or maybe they have a downrigger, maybe they don't. But we do see, several people will actually, if you're going to use it a lot, I mean, it's never a bad idea to add like a small manual rigger. I mean, if you've got room for it, the cost is, they're relatively inexpensive. Um, it does simplify things. There's no way around that. I mean, it's still a really good, way to go. And the slip deucer actually works really, really well with a manual downrigger. You really don't have to be with an electric. If you're putting an electric, you do need to exercise some caution with that. Kind of keeping track of the cable, make sure it's not getting wrapped around things or sucked up in the pulleys or anything like that. So I mean, there is some kind of care and feeding that goes with it. Again, that's a little bit of a trade-off. But with the manuals, you really don't have that. And I do see a lot of people doing that, where they may start with the short rod setup, where they think they just don't want a downrigger. But after they kind of get familiar with the information and realize how important the information is to them, then they'll actually go back and mount a small manual downrigger. So.
Very good, Trevor. Appreciate you coming on. I think we're going to have you come on a little bit more this year, talk a little bit of product, and kind of help
Yeah,
answer some people's questions. So fun to
yeah, I
have
think
you on today. And looks like we
it'd be
got somebody popping in right now. They got a question, and here's a question that we answer a fair amount of times. And Just a quick question about whether running 2 fishhawk probes being able to read out on one monitor. Is that
Um,
possible?
no, just because they run at the same frequency, right? So the probes are all the same frequency. So yeah, you're running one probe at a time. It's funny because we've actually, once upon a time we actually had a multi-probe system, and when you look at it from a temperature perspective, I mean, you can see where obviously it would be advantageous to, it'd be nice to know, temperature at multiple levels, but you can really do that as you're running your downrigger down. And then from a speed perspective, you're always only able to go one speed. So again, we really kind of prioritize, giving you that baseline speed that's repeatable that you can get back to. That's really kind of how that's our take on it anyways.
Very good. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. We'll have this up on the podcast in the next day or two, but we'll do it again next week. I know got a couple of captains that have been ringing me up that
Who you got next week?
Don't know yet.
Oh,
got
okay.
a couple guys. One guy I think is down in Costa Rica right now, and if he gets back in time, we'll have him on. But we're working on it.
You could do a live from Costa Rica. That would be new.
Yeah, we could do that. I didn't even think about that. We could do
the other thing I did want to ask, or put out there at least is to start, like to get some more feedback on. We get a lot of requests for apparel, hats, shirts, that kind of stuff. So start to put out some, kind of feelers for what people are looking for on that. Because kind of my take on apparel is like, if we're going to do apparel, we want it to be good stuff, right? You don't want it to be the promotional kind of freebie type stuff. We want it to be good and stuff that people want to wear and things like that. So that's something, if you want to put a shout out or try to get some feedback on, definitely looking for some input on what people are looking for. So
yeah, drop a line on the Facebook page. Let us know kind of what you might want, and we can go from there.
Yeah, cool beans.
All right, Trevor Sumption from Fishhawk. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate everybody stopping by today and watching the show, and we will see you next week.
Peace.